Trading at Schwab is now powered by Ameritrade, giving you even more specialized support than ever before. Like access to the trade desk, our team of passionate traders ready to tackle anything from the most complex trading questions to a simple strategy gut check. Need assistance? No problem. Get 24/7 professional answers and live help, and access support by phone, email, and in-platform chat. That's how Schwab is here for you, to help you trade brilliantly. Learn more at schwab.com/trading.
Stop right there. Yeah, you. If you like all things entertainment, current events, or Hollywood, then look no further. Creator to Creators, hosted by director Meosha of Horror Noir, interviews filmmakers and creatives from around the world. Join in on the fun, guest celebrities, and informative information to have as a creator. Hit subscribe and stay connected to Creator to Creators.
Welcome to another episode of Creators to Creators today. Today, we have a special guest.
My name is DeMarcus R. Minor.
What's up? Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Of course. You know, I like this show is about talking to talented creators like yourself. You're super, super talented, and I can't wait to work with you. I look forward to it. I like to go from the beginning, you know, like how was your childhood, and growing up, and then kind of finding your way into writing, you know, doing the things that you do now.
Okay. I was born in a little small country town in Louisiana called Tallulah.
Wow.
So, I mean, people never heard of it, but it's right outside of Mississippi, but right in Louisiana, around the Delta area.
Nice.
My mom is a gospel singer. Her name is she was going by Tabitha Minor back then, but she's Tabitha Beavers because she got married. But she's who I got all my inspiration from. She tells people all the time, Marcus loves to write horror because while I was pregnant with him, all I did was watch Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. So of course, that was the first. That was my introduction into horror. I was joking.
I love
That's how I started there.
Wow, gospel, and then you're over here in the scary world. I'm sure your mom was like, Lord.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome though. Like, what do you think it was that kind of drew you into that world? Like, for you, was it like was it a fascination? Like, was it just a feeling of like, ooh, you know, that seems really cool, the genre itself?
I had a very vivid imagination, and I love to do stuff that I was restricted not to do.
I see.
So, of course, watching R-rated movies back then as a kid is like, oh, I want to see I got to close my eyes. So I was one of them people that I wanted to investigate. And my mom she was a young mom, so she was like, you know, let them watch it, you know. And of course, I became completely into it. So that was my thing.
Nice. Do you like, what kind of horror do you like? Do you like the ghostly horror kind of stuff? Or you like the supernatural, or you're more so like in the realism kind of?
I gotta say, just because I'm from the '80s, you know, I love the slasher films. You know, I know they're not really scary now, but as a kid, they terrified me. I mean, especially we end up moving to Illinois, where you know Candyman country. So I was that was the first time, you know, saying his name in the mirror. I never forget. I went to see that movie as a little kid.
What?
And I was afraid. Yeah, I was afraid to go to the bathroom.
Wow.
You know, because of the mirror. So I would take a piece of cardboard and cover up the mirror while I was in there. So, but yeah.
That is so sweet. That is so sweet. So I'm sure your family were very supportive of your journey and your career, what you wanted to do. Like, how did you know, like, okay, this is what I want. I want to definitely give this a try. Like writing, yes. Like, what made you say yes to it?
Well, honestly, I didn't start off in film. I was a rapper. I was, you know, that was the thing to do. Everybody was rapping. So I rapped for years. I mean, I rapped all the way up until, 2016. So I met my film mentor out here in Atlanta, God rest his soul, Jason A. Smith. He went to Full Sail University and for film, and he heard me rapping one day at a mutual friend's house, and he was like, man, you got great stories. Nice. I said, well, I'm just telling stories about how, you know, I grew up. And he was like, well, can you do that for film? And I always wanted to learn how to screenwrite, but I didn't know how. So he taught me, you know, and he was just like, first thing I wrote with him, I think it was called American Nightmare. And
Okay.
it was a horror film. And he doesn't do horror, but he was like, this is great because I go into details about growing up in the neighborhood, stuff that most people don't
Mm,
talk about.
right. Yeah, no, that is so cool because you a rapper. Wow, I would have never. That's amazing. Okay, who was some of your rapper like the influences that made you want to? Do you still do it now?
I dabble now. I don't not as serious as I was. I moved out here to Atlanta to do rap. I'm from Atlanta.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the goal. It was not film. But God
Interesting that
had
it
it
changed.
changed, yeah.
Wow.
But
So
Tupac
but
was my
Tupac,
influence.
the best that
The
ever
best.
done it, you know,
Exactly.
right? The greatest of all times, honestly. Uh, no, I mean, he had like, I think that's what the difference was for him. Like, he was one of those rappers that I think that's why he was so like a universal kind of, he touched people universally, like not just, African Americans, he touched everyone, and because if he had stories that he could tell that were true, and that actually I think that's what makes a good rapper, those
Yeah.
like real stories that you're talking about and how you tell them. And
Yeah.
so like now I'm curious, now I want to like listen to some of your stuff that you have,
Hey,
like
I'm gonna
what
have
is
to sing you something. Yeah, I got some
hey,
stuff now.
okay. No,
Yeah.
that's so cool. So the goal change, and so the path changed to film. Now, in that moment when it changed, were you afraid of change, or you were like,
Terrified.
all right, I'm embraced. Okay, you're terrified.
I'm a tourist, so I hate
Okay.
change. So when he told me about doing film, I was like, nah, I kind of came out here for rapping. It's
Yeah.
like just let me do my thing. And he was like, Marcus, I'm telling you, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I got frustrated because the first program he taught me on was Celtics, and
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I was like, yo, I'm not getting this. But every day he would have lessons with, because like I said, I was homeless. I was sleeping in my car.
What?
So yeah, I was sleeping in
Wow.
my car, and
Wow.
I would go over to his house once he got home, and we'd be in his basement all night. And he was like, well,
Wow.
going over my work, showing me, yo, you gotta do it like this, do it like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a great mentor of mine. Sadly he passed away. We was the same age, and
Oh,
he just
wow.
recently passed away. But he always tell me like God sent him the full sail for me to learn and to carry the torch.
Wow.
So that's
That's
the main reason I do this.
That's beautiful to kind of carry on also his legacy, but you know, yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. All right, so now that you're in you so say you're in Atlanta, you're writing, what were the obstacles that you faced, in the business, even like writing? I'm sure like you came against, and still probably do come against, kind of hurdles that you have to like get over. And how did you overcome those obstacles?
I would say when you're writing for yourself, it's easy because it's all coming from what you want to do. But
Yeah.
I've written for other people for projects that they have, and their critique over something that they'll give a blanket like statement like, "Oh, I want a movie about
Hmm.
soldiers at war,"
Yeah.
and you write a movie about soldiers at war, but it's not exactly what they're needing. So they'll critique this and critique that. So learning to work with others, I would say, was my
Yeah.
hardest thing because as a rapper, it's like our mentality was we write our own rhymes. So when you telling me my stuff is not good enough, it's like telling me, oh, your verse is whack. So
I
I had
see.
to learn how to be able to take constructive criticism. I think that was my hardest obstacle.
No, it's a real thing. I mean, we're in the business of the the harshest business to be in, of like critical, like people like tell you like what you are, and you're just like, oh my gosh, like why do I put up with this? But it actually does, sometimes it does it adds to it. Like I remember getting ripped to shreds by one of my mentors, and I was just like, ugh, like that was really harsh, but like it made me want to like come back and do better and be better. So yeah, I think it's one of those things. It's like I always say that you got to love what you do, and then love this business, especially because you know it's an up and down business, and I think the love for it is why we keep going, not for the monetary gain. I mean, it's great to make money,
Right.
but I think if you love it, then yeah, that's your calling at the end of the day for sure. For
I
sure.
want to tell my story. That's all I tell kids. I want to tell my story.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Only you can. Exactly. So you're in Atlanta, you're doing your thing, you're overcoming obstacles. All right, fast forward. What now in Atlanta, is it harder to meet people and like have that core circle? Because I do believe a part of our success is the people that are around us. I've been very fortunate to meet so many amazing people that really truly believe in me and help me kind of develop who I am. And without those tools, I wouldn't be who I am now, without having someone say, okay, this is how you do it. Or even if that, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
How did you find your circle, your core people?
Honestly, I'm still kind of searching. I would say, crazy enough, my family had a reunion, and my cousin's soon-to-be husband at that time, he was like, I told him I was in Atlanta, I was trying to do this film thing. I had just lost my mentor, so I was lost out here. I'm like,
Yeah.
and he was like, well, I got a guy that I went to, ASU with. And I
Mhm.
was like, who? He was like, his name is Andrew Preston. I was like, Andrew Preston. I kind of clowned his name. I said, it's like
Sir
white
Lloyd.
guy. And then he hooked us up on the phone. And I was in Florida at the time, and he was like, "Oh, you live in Atlanta?" I said, "Yeah." He said he just got to Atlanta from L.A.
Mhm.
And I was like, we need to link, and we talked, and that's been my brother ever since.
Oh,
Shout out
I
to
love
Andrew Lloyd
it.
Preston.
Shout out to Andrew.
So
He's gonna love this clip.
that's my boy.
That's awesome. We love Andrew over here and Creators to Creators. He's a great, great guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a great guy. I've known him for a long time too, and we go LA days for sure. That's where we met and some years and years ago. And actually he took a picture of me on set so many years ago, and I still use that picture, and I book off that photo still to this day. It's
Really.
insane. It's insane. I'm like, it was a really good picture, and it's so hey, shout out to Andrew. But yeah, I do believe that it's the people that we're surrounded with that, because we're such in a business where there are people that feel like, and I don't know if you feel this way in our community, especially, do you feel like a lot of us feel like it's that wheel in a barrel kind of bucket where it's like it has to be one that come up, and then you know what I mean, where it's like I have to get there and the thing is I've been criticized in my career over the years that like I don't work with enough Black people. I've been by my own people, which is the funny part about it. That's what I've been criticized for. And I'm thinking like, what? Like, I think I do. I think I do. And or do you feel that way? That there only can be one?
No, I don't feel that way. Like,
Well, that's good. That's
I
good.
mean, honestly, it was hard in the beginning, and this was something that my mentor had to check me on. Like,
Mm,
I had when we first started writing, like
mhm.
Jordan Peele was doing comedy,
Right.
right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I had horror stories before I met my mentor, but they wasn't in script format. I
Right.
would freestyle them like I would do my rhymes, like I was
Right.
just freestyle on top of my head. And I tried to hook up with some guys before, and they was like, "Oh, well, is this like Wayans Brothers type scary movie stuff?"
Mhm.
And even with the Black people I tried to work with, Black people just didn't want to
Jump
accept
on it.
horror. They was like, why don't you do comedy or something? Why don't you do a
Mm,
gangster movie? I was like, why?
mm.
It's like, yo, you've seen that story already. It's like, I don't
Right.
want to tell something that you already
Mhm.
seen. But anyway, I'm one of the people I work with anyway. But
Yeah.
I love telling horror that you've never heard of.
Yes.
And that's part of why I created, Community Tales, because it's tales
Yeah.
from the community. It's like the culture is huge. It's not just gangster gangster. And,
Absolutely.
it's a different part of it. And I used to love going to horror movies with my friends who was all Black, and we always would laugh at the white girl that would fall. They'd be like, oh, see, if a Black person, that wouldn't happen to them. And I would tell them, I was like, well, that's their horror. They're gonna be in the woods. We wouldn't be in the woods. Maybe we over here. It's like, let me
Right.
tell it from our standpoint.
No, and I
Hope I answered your
appreciate that.
question.
That's great that you came up with that. Talk a little bit about that. Like, why did you create that, and why did you feel like, yeah, this has to be told?
Well, I wanted to make. I love to watch American horror,
Oh yeah.
but you know, I mean, but I didn't like some of the stories. I felt the stories didn't relate, and you know, Irv Gotti came out with Tales. He was taking hip hop songs
Uh-huh.
and turning them into film,
Right.
and I just
Right.
thought that was dope. And I was like, yo, this is what if I could do that with horror? So
Mm-hmm.
that's when I say, you know, let me tell our tales from horror. You know, it's like, and I would say, you know, what's that movie from back in the day? Tales from the Hood.
Mm-hmm.
Tales
Good
from the
one.
Hood was
Good one.
huge influence on what I'm doing right now because it's like community tales will be the baby of that.
Okay.
Little stories about Black people, what they've experienced, or just people of color. I don't want to say Black people, but people of color and what they've gone through in the
Yeah.
community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even the first one that I dropped earlier, called Blood Hands. I mean, it's a hood tale, you know, about a drive-by shooting, a
Mm-hmm.
kid getting killed. But what if that kid came back? What if his spirit came back and haunted you because of what happened? You know, it's like I believe that's happened because I've seen crazy things in the neighborhood. You know, so you just
Mm-hmm.
never know. But that's pretty much why I did what I did.
I like that. How many episodes do you have?
Right now,
Yeah.
25.
Ooh, all right. All right. That's
Yeah, I
exciting.
add
That's a
to them
lot.
daily. So
Not okay. I like that. So it's like an ongoing, like different stories. I like that.
yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, little small stories. I don't want to take up too much of everybody's time, so I always try my best not to go over 10 minutes. But I give you a good tale on, you know, like I just dropped Sharon. Sharon
Yeah.
was a huge play off of the Lost Boys song Renee. And I don't know if people have heard that. It's from back in the 90s, but it was a big song. You know, it's about, you know, the love story. And Sharon was a kind of a love story that just went crazy, went
Yeah.
left.
Right. Completely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I think that's absolutely brilliant that, that you're doing that, even in the midst of, and I don't know if you're feeling it too, because I was recently asked I did this other show with my girlfriend of mine. We kind of talk about different topics of what's going on in the world, but she asked me, like, have I been impacted on with the strike? And I was like, no, I haven't been impacted. And we were laughing, but it was like we were laughing, and I was thinking to myself, like, yes, it seems harsh to say, but I'm being honest. It's like I feel like yes, there are things that I think people that are going on in the world that people should stand up for, just like there was Black Lives Matter and so forth and so forth. I mean, I didn't march at Lives Matter. I'm someone that beats at my own drum, not because of a movement. I don't go off what movements or what's happening in the world. I go off what I want to go off of. Like that's how I've always been, because I feel like that's what happens because we're in a business that is very controlled and very structured the way it is, and Hollywood is Hollywood. It's structured that way, and as long as striving to be a part of the structure, you will be that thing. You'll be in that box, and you can't go past that. I mean, I've touching on a little bit. I literally got an email by a really big company, very, very huge company. I will not say the name. I had an interview with somebody that was in a show, a part of this huge company, and they were like, "Did you mention the strike?" And I was like, they're like, "We cannot share that on the podcast or put that out there." And I understand that, but it's very interesting how, even that little control is like, you can't talk about it. Like right now, I'm wrong for bringing it up, basically. No, really, it's
no,
that serious. So, I mean, do you feel like, does that impact you in what you're doing?
Sort of. I do have something being currently, it's out there, but I can't do anything or say anything just
Yeah.
because, I don't want to be in any
Structure.
violations of
Isn't that,
any. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm learning this as I go because I'm not used to somebody telling me what I can and can't say. And you want to cross no violations. I said, okay, I'm just going. So I just steer away. But yeah,
No, I mean,
I'm,
I understand that.
yeah,
I understand that. But I feel like for me, I've always been a person who's very like beating my own drum. I've never went
yeah,
mainstream for that reason, because of I'm more of like a Dave Chappelle. Like I'm in the industry, but I'm not. Like I'm still my
like
own
that.
person. And I feel like that's where I want to continue to stay. What keeps you going? I ask every, artist this, like what keeps you going in this business?
My daughter. My daughter, she is my biggest fan. She's my biggest supporter. She's watching me on everything I do. She wants to be a creator herself. She's writing stories. She just got an award last year for best storyteller in her
Oh, I
class.
love that. Following after
So,
Papa's footsteps.
yeah,
That's so
so
sweet.
she's my inspiration. And she'll see me. She's like, "Well, Daddy, did you write today?" Like that's who I work for. She the boss.
Ah, that's sweet. That's sweet. What do you want from this business?
I really just want to cement my legacy. I think legacy is huge. Like I love the fact that perfect example. Irv Gotti, he just sold all his masters, but for Murder Inc. to
Mhm.
this big company. But he has sons who he's leaving his other businesses too. I want to be
Mhm.
able to leave something to my kids. It's like when it's that time for me to step down. Like I think that's important. And I
Mhm.
think it comes back from this is my personal opinion, but just from back in the day, it's like, property that was handed down generation to generation to generation. Like, I think that's huge. And I think the same thing with business.
I
And I want
see.
to continue that.
Nice. Uh, what advice would you give to somebody that wants to get in this business, and that want to do writing or become a writer?
Um, Definitely believe in yourself. This is not an overnight process. Just know you in it for the long haul, and no matter what anybody says, just keep going. I have to give
Absolutely.
self motivation every day. Like I just started, like I said, this YouTube channel, community for community tales, and I'm a numbers person.
Right.
Even though people would tell me, "Don't look at the numbers. You just started. Don't look at the numbers." I can't help it. I'm checking them every hour on the hour. That's just me. But you know, I can't help that. But I just keep going, dropping videos, recording. And I
That's
don't write anything down, so any video that you hear is freestyle.
Oh wow, no editing, no cuts. Very cool. You're Jay-Z and up in the booth. You're like,
I use the same approach that I did in music with
I
film,
like that.
especially with these stories. Like, I mean, I'll sit back and I'll think about it for a while, but it's never gonna. I'm not gonna write it down because if I have to look
Right.
down and read, like, I'm gonna mess up. So
Oh,
I
I
just
feel
sit
that.
down.
I feel that. No, that's pretty cool. I like to also ask every guest this question, and there's no wrong answer. But the three levels of power, and one being money, power, or respect. And if you could choose one of those things, what would you choose and why?
Respect.
Why?
I think just because, like I said, how I grew up, respect was key. In the
Mm.
neighborhood, you can have the most money, but nobody respect you. They'll come rob you if that's the case. Power, power is limited. Is guess what? Somebody coming up could have more power than you. But
Mhm.
respect is eternal. If you got respect, you have respect from the big people to the little people. That's just I've always been big on respect. Loyalty and respect are my two things.
I love that. Do you feel like the business is changing for African Americans specifically?
Yes, to a degree. And I say to a degree, they expect you to be in a bubble of doing what typical African Americans do. Like, especially as a writer, like, oh, they automatically assuming my work is gonna be gangster
Or
or
urban?
or some type of urban, you know. But Tyler Perry, not Tyler, excuse me, Jordan Peele has changed that. I would say, like, he's
Yeah.
he's he's opened the door to, but at the same time, I would tell people, it's like, I don't want to keep comparing my stuff to Peele's just because I'm black and he's black. It's like
Right.
he's coming from a different perspective than I am. My
Yeah.
perspective is more, like I said, from the neighborhood because I grew up in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So
And
you
there's
would
and there's
see
a lot
stuff
of
like that.
stories. Yeah,
Yeah,
to tell that are from different perspective of the African American,
exactly.
background. Absolutely. And it's funny. I was talking to a friend about Jordan Peele, and we kind of touched on it a little bit. She was like, "So, you got to work with him." I'm like, "Yeah, that was really really cool." But I think what was even better about that is that the fact that I never that was never something in my mind to yeah, I want to work with Jordan Peele. Like, I think I respect the man's work, but it's really interesting. I think it goes back to the work that you put in, eventually it pays off. Like, that's just what it is. And you just really never know how it unfolds or who you're going to be working with. You never know who's watching. I had no idea that, it was like that one, the documentary you watched,
Beautiful,
whatever. I would like, what, really? Me? Okay. But it's literally just putting in that work. And I'm not trying to compare you to a Jordan Peele, but I think you're in your own lane of its own. And I think people are going to really, really love, like, embrace that. I mean, you have your own perspective, and you're DeMarcus. No one else is but you. You know what I mean? And so it's like you just have a different type of approach. And I mean, I just know I'm gonna be like, oh snap! Like, I know this guy. Like,
I felt the way when I saw you in that documentary. I'm like, oh, I know her. Like, that's
oh
so
my
dope.
gosh, you're so
And the fact that
sweet.
y'all was talking about Black culture and horror,
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
yo, this is like a kid in a candy store for me. Because like some of them projects, I had to go back and research because the
Same,
70s. I'm like, yo,
same.
oh, like that
I
Abby
was
one. I didn't
oh
know nothing about
same,
Abby.
literally same, quite literally same thing. I went back. I was like, oh, I gotta watch it now. When I was I wrote down certain things, and I was like, this is crazy. I never heard about Abby, but it was very interesting that there was a lot of Black stories during the Black exploitation era, like that I did not see. It's pretty amazing, the stories that we have that we don't see, like a Candyman
Yeah,
or those kind of characters. But it's really, it's like, I really do feel like the industry is changing, but I feel like we have to be the change for the industry to change. So if that's, I don't know if that's, I'm gonna say writing, but like if that's protesting, then I think you should do that. I feel like everybody, if you feel like you should do something, then do it. You know what I mean?
I think it's
But
more create the following. I would tell anybody, you got to
yeah,
create the following.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Fun question.
Mhm.
This is we're winding down one of my last questions. I love asking this question. When your work is done and you've done everything that you've done on this earth that you said you wanted to do, and you get to the pearly gates of heaven, and God says to you, what do you want God to say about what you've done when everything's over?
I would want God to say, A, you a hell of a writer. And B, I love how you took care of your people.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. Where can people find you on social media and follow you and all the things that you have going on?
Well, my Instagram is dminor. That's DMINOR 0517 underscore 87 underscore. Find me
Nice.
there on Instagram and Community Tales on YouTube. Just type that in and it take you right to me.
All right. All right. Well, any update, anything that you're working on that we should be on the lookout for that you're working on?
Yeah, definitely check me out weekly. I drop a video every Friday. This upcoming Friday, Crybaby drops. I think you guys are gonna love Crybaby, so I'm very excited about it. Just keep, rocking with me. I'm building over here. I'm
I
building.
love it. I love it. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. It was a
Thank you.
pleasure. And I'm surprised, like 30 minutes, 35 minutes go by so fast. Like
Yeah,
it's
I'm
just
looking at.
like
I'm like, hey, is it over already? Like, I was enjoying myself. Just thought I was gonna get some hard questions. Like, what's happening?
I was getting there. I was getting there. Next time, next time, next time. We're
Yeah,
gonna
I
get
got
some.
you.
I could do my Dr. Phil or like, what is it? Ivania, is it Ilania Vincent? No, I'm kidding. Thank you all for listening and go follow him. He's amazing. Support my friends. Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much again for your time. I
Thank you.
appreciate
Thank you.
you. And thank you all for
Appreciate you.
listening. Of course, of course. And thank you all for listening. And always remember to live, love, laugh. We'll see you guys next time.